I'm Mark Stewart with a comment about presidential selection. Every transaction has some sacrifice, right? Each party to a transaction could have got something more. So those who say that in Jacob, we're nominating a turncoat, should really recognize that his eloquence and his current fire elevates all of us. Those who write of Justin Amash's candidacy, we're being used. Maybe they should recognize that we're attempting to use him too. Whether that's a good prospect, I leave to delegates. Justin's come to us with pretty good fervor, and here's my suggestion. Before you nominate him, get a contract asserting his nomination of many LP competitors who you might like better right now to be in his cabinet. All 4 candidates who were with me Saturday night pledged that very thing, to nominate every one of their current competitors if they're the nominee this weekend. I think that's great. And that means that those who find a nomination of one over another unpalatable, they're making a trade-off that is palatable and maybe even uplifting. Our nominee will then get a slew of candidates out on the hustings, the Zoom hustings. Okay, that's to promote LP and to promote one another. We've never had that. What delegates should demand of our presidential nominee, take all your former rivals and more. That's a lot of you delegates who would serve in a judgeship or in an executive appointment. Great. I implore our nominee to pledge to us, really you, I'm not a delegate, that she or he will name a cabinet by our July convention. This is the best LP field of my lifetime. I'm 56. It's not even close, okay? Every one of the presidential candidates would make a better president than every Democrat or every Republican nominated since Alf Landon. I hope those who don't win will not just be cabinet announced appointees, but that y'all will campaign for something this November, or at least November 22. But look, you've gotten geared up for many months. For now, go for a state house seat. Go for a congressional seat. Even if it's a loser, you're going to make a difference. You're going to make a big difference having done what you've done over the last months at the presidential level. We tout our presidential nominee, and our nominee touts us. This is mutually good. And this is an election we could win. COVID paranoia has given the Libertarians the best opportunity ever. Probably not so much of an evener at the presidential level, but at the congressional and state house levels, we are close to an even playing field. Now, if an announced cabinet and announced judgeships that include well-spoken LP candidates are still not enough for media, well, a suggestion: use the VP slot. Go big. Nominate a succession of 3 VPs. Yeah, who can each impress voters. Consider even someone who is not yet libertarian. Someone good in principle that we work to turn. Right now, they're in the wrong party, but we can work on them, and we name a placeholder VP until that person comes to us with fervor. Maybe that is Senator Ben Sasse. Maybe we finally turn Mike Lee. Delegates, if you like Justin for his congressional resume, well, Sasse and Lee are principled and heavyweights. Or maybe delegates go select a business person. Business has been an appealing thing to the electorate ever since Ross Perot, okay? So, look who we got. Carly Fiorina for maybe the taking. She hates Trump. Herman Cain, Larry Elder, Meg Whitman, Tim Cook. Get all 5 of them, we might win California. remember, for delegates who like the political stature of Congressman Amash, Carly Fiorina has twice that stature. Herman Cain, twice that stature. And he's so easy to like. Tim Cook, he's got the aura of the most ethical among the big tech CEOs. Let's go further. Half of Oregon would like to legally grow weed. Name Senator Mike Gravel to something. He's 90, but so what? It's principle with tradition, with being a maverick. It's a nice combination for we in the porcupine family. We can put the whole West Coast into play. How about Washington State? Remember, that was the state that in 2016 had 3 electors defect in December from a pledge to vote for a mainstream candidate. So Washington, our nominee announces a cabinet role for Jay Inslee, Jeff Bezos, Melinda Gates, Russell Wilson. We need some time for one of them to turn libertarian. If we're committed that way, we choose a president now and a placeholder VP who will yield if a supermajority of delegates feels that we now have someone better. I'm prepared to be that placeholder VP. I am thus a candidate now for that office, and I am happy to be replaced later this summer by someone better. If 90% of the delegates this weekend feel we have a better VP nominee than me come July, I happily yield to her or him. Some of you remember, I sought this status and this progression in Orlando in 2016. Back then, I was 6 tokens short of the 30 I needed to be on the stage. And I spent my Saturday evening that night seeking tokens from delegates instead of learning the nuances of anarchy with a very good young presenter and the campaign, I think she was director for John McAfee. Had I, bided my time differently, you would have heard me earlier. And I would have said the same thing. Name a succession of VPs and let the political world see we job share. Okay? My request at the time would have been to have me, if elected, serve no more than 18 months, yield contractually to another well-spoken, passionate libertarian who himself would yield within 18 months to a really well-spoken libertarian, Larry Sharp. My request this weekend is the same. It is to see Larry as our sitting vice president by the end of 2023, unless he is already the sitting governor of New York. That would be sublime. My contract with the Libertarian Party delegates is the same, to fervently compete until November, and if elected, to resign within 18 months of inauguration. I relish taking someone or having someone better than me taking my place. And what would I joyously do? Run for governor of another blue Northeast state. It's for this reason, my temporariness, that I might be the best choice now for LPVP. I'm 18 months and I'm one of 3. If people are concerned about our presidential nominee as a turncoat, well, I'm a good balance, okay? I've been touting libertarians at the presidential level ever since I ran for office in 2000. I have been, well, if you're concerned about party loyalty, I have voted libertarian in every even-numbered year since 1996, except once in 2004, I didn't vote at all. So I'm a pretty good weapon no matter who you nominate for president. My job is to run for a better Congress. I, if elected, am elected as VP, which really means to preside over the U.S. Senate, which is wayward. And until elected, my job is to promote more down-ballot libertarians. Philosophically, we're in a wide enough tent, and I can be in sync with any of our presidential nominees. It can be as far right/traditional as Sam Robb seems to be. It can be as far left untraditional as Adam Kokesh clearly is. Look, I could be a very good complement to Vermin Supreme, and I could even handle McAfee, I think. Jacob, your work and your presence, I revere. Justin, you're one of the best House members of my lifetime. Turncoat is not an inherently bad word. If one is turning to a better cause, it's good. And since one incurs enmity from your former brethren, it's actually pretty heroic. The initial use of the word, by the way, it goes back to English barons who turned their coats of arms toward a relatively decent King John. This was 800 years ago. John's the one who signed the Magna Carta, the Western world's first emancipating document. More modern uses include members who were Nazis or Vichy supporters after 1945, turning to accept the ways of the Allied forces. Even more recent, communists in the Eastern Bloc who turned in the last 30 years to embrace capitalism. They're also turncoats. Good for them. Good for us. When they emigrate here, okay, we love their ethic. We love their free market philosophy they bring. By the way, even better in my mind, modern Africans who turn on long-standing tribalism to embrace Western ways, and they tend to do that here really well, they're turncoats for good. So whether it's immigration to our country or immigration to our party, we should encourage more turncoats. Turncoat could certainly be applied to those loyalists in the 1780s who turned to embrace the new republic that was forming around them. And it certainly could be applied to the revolutionary fighters from a few years earlier who had a real lot of guts to turn on the English royalty that had supported them really well. I mean, colonists were doing great. They were the wealthiest people in the world, yet they wanted better and risked their lives, because if Washington, Otis, Jefferson, Sam Adams, Abigail Adams, John Adams, if the revolution had failed, they would have hanged. Maybe not Abigail. The rest of them were. Now, Justin Amash is not risking death. Donald Trump is not going to drone him for leaving the Republican Party. But he is the only elected Republican to part from Trump. That's politically heroic. Wise and otherwise principled Republicans in Congress have not yet turned away from Trump. They have not turned to liberty. So let Justin be the first of many, and let us get busy turning others.